naturally. I'm a shy person naturally, and I used to get my hair cut on a barbershop in 15th Street Northeast, and I would go there, and everyone in the barbershop would just snap on each other. And I'd sit in the corner and I'd watch everybody and just listen to all these jokes. The guys were funny as shit, but one day, after a few weeks of going there getting my hair cut, they turned the jokes on me. I call that day the barbershop massacre. I lit everybody in that barbershop up. I've been sitting in there listening to for weeks talk about each other. I knew every inside joke about each and every one of them, and they couldn't believe I knew. And from then on in the neighborhood, people kind of like me. Oh, those guys. That I don't know that I've seen since I left this school. I can remember, and I won't say names, there was a student that went here that used to sell drugs. It wasn't just a student, but this particular guy. This particular guy did the cardinal no-no on the streets. He did what they call not making your roll, which meant that he got some drugs on consignment and he didn't pay whoever gave him the drugs back. And whoever gave him those drugs had declared, I'm gonna come to that school and I'm gonna kill you, he said. And my man was scared. And the word got around school that the goons was coming. And by the time the goons showed up, every dude that went to this school, gay, straight, whatever the fuck, was all standing out front. They said, you have to kill all of us. And who was in front of all of them? Roger Bellamy with some leg warmers on like this. I didn't have the suspicion that most new kids get. I was an oddity, a new toy. I was quirky. I wasn't a snappy dresser. I didn't really know what the fuck was going on because the crack epidemic itself was new to me, and they were all refugees from their neighborhood schools. In the morning, we would have our academic classes, and then in the afternoon, we would have our arts classes. It was a long school day. We started at 8:30. We wouldn't leave here at 5, sometimes 5:30, whenever they saw fit. It's funny walking in here tonight, because I saw the pride flags up. And I remember when I came here all those years ago, it's the first time I'd ever met a kid who was just like gay. And was never strange to us. Their sexuality or their gender identity was the least remarkable thing about a person that could dance as well as Roger Bellamy or there was no distinction between any of that. Everybody was weird in their own way. And in a very strange way, because we spent so much time with one another, we helped raise one another. Not to get his approval, but to avoid his disapproval. When we were coming up, they had a thing called juries. I don't know, do they still do juries? Juries is when all the department heads give you a piece to work on and they sit there and they make you perform the piece, and the criticism is brutal. We were kids. We didn't understand that they were preparing us for a hard world ahead. If you wanted a profession in art, they would tear us to shreds. The stress of a jury, and man, I never practiced. You remember what it was first like when you first walked through the door. And it was in the afternoon and everyone was in their arts classes and the girls had tutus on. And everyone was weird and walking around the hallway like you weren't sure where anyone was supposed to be, and you could hear people practicing their horns and shit all through the hallways. There was art bouncing off the walls. The minute I walked through the door, there was a gallery of all these children's work, and these pictures were amazing. My first thought, when I walked through that door, I'm not good enough to be here. I've seen since I left this school. I can remember, and I won't say names, there was a student that went here that used to sell drugs. Well, it wasn't just a student, but this particular guy. This particular guy did the cardinal no-no on the streets. He did what they call not making your roll, which meant that he got some drugs on consignment and he didn't pay whoever gave him the drugs back. And whoever gave him those drugs had declared, I'm gonna come to that school and I'm gonna kill you, he said. And my man was scared. And the word got around school that the goons was coming. And by the time the goons showed up, every dude that went to this school, gay, straight, whatever the fuck, was all standing out front. They said, you'll have to kill all of us. And who was in front of all of them? Roger Bellamy with some leg warmers on like this. I'll spare you all the details of why it didn't work out. But it didn't work out. And I ended up doing something that no one had ever seen before, including myself. Maybe Prince is the only other guy that I've seen do this, where he just quit something that was popular when you're at the very top of it. Lucky for me, when I quit, I went to Africa, so there was a media storm that I didn't hear. By the time I got back, everyone was just looking at me crazy. That was a very difficult decision to make. The entire world told me I was crazy, but I was sure I was being true to myself and to something that I learned at Ellington. I'm one of those comedians that thought of himself as an artist. I was enamored by what the genre could do. It was like the pictures that I could paint with words and the way I could engage with audiences. I understood as it was happening. I was very lucky to be able to do this. And I protected that. And I knew that if I took the money, they would expect me to behave differently. And I wasn't willing to accept that. So I quit. And when I quit, it was a very difficult time in my life that I'll spare you the details, but man, fuck show business. It was tough. I ain't saying names. One of the kids' mother went on Fox News. And she used to be a student here. I remember her face, but I don't know if she was particularly popular. Anyway. She was in the literary media arts department. She said a lot of things that I didn't like, a lot of things, but, you know, that's her right. Things she said that got to me. She said, at Duke Ellington, that theater was a sanctuary for students. I used to sit there and meditate. Well, of course you'd meditate. You were a literary media arts student. We didn't meditate in here, we got to work. But okay, fine. I would sit in there and meditate, she said. And then she scrunched her face up. She's a beautiful woman, but her face looked hideous the way she scrunched it up. And she said, and just to imagine his name on that theater. How could you do that to those kids? I took a lot of cold shots in show business. And I gotta tell you, as the years go on, you feel the shots less and less as just the business, is what you say. But that one, that day, boy, that day they hurt me. When I heard those talking points coming out of these children's faces, that really, sincerely hurt me. Because I know those kids didn't come up with those words. I've heard those words before. The more you say I can't say something, the more urgent it is for me to say it. And it has nothing to do with what you're saying I can't say. It has everything to do with my right, my freedom of artistic expression that is valuable to me, that is not separate from me. It's worth protecting for me, and it's worth protecting for everyone else who endeavors in our noble, noble professions. And these kids didn't understand that they were instruments of oppression. And I didn't get mad at them. They're kids, they're freshmen, they're not ready yet. They don't know. What made me mad, and I am this petty, and what Kevin had to learn the hard way is we were breaking an unwritten and unspoken rule of show business. And if I say it, you'll know that I'm telling you the truth. The rule is that no matter what you do in your artistic expression, you are never, ever allowed to upset the alphabet people. You know who I mean. Those people that took 20% of the alphabet for themselves. I'd say the letters, but I don't want to conjure their anger. It's too late now. I'm talking about them L's and them B's and them G's and the T's. People be surprised. I have friends, all kinds of letters. Everybody loves me and I love everybody. I got friends who are L's, I got friends who are B's, and I got friends who are G's. But the T's hate my fucking guts. And I don't blame them. It's not their fault, it's mine. I can't stop telling jokes about these things. I don't want to write these jokes, but I just can't stop. You know, you hear all those letters together all the time, LBGT, LBGT, and you think it's just one big movement. It's not. All those letters are their own movement. They just travel in the same car together. And my guess is, what is this, high school? This nigga probably got a babysitter or something. Go on and answer your phone, nigga. Just get that shit out of here. I'm in the middle of something important. Wouldn't it be funny if we made fun of him and he's like, and he went outside like, hello? Mama's dead. Oh no! Mama's dead. That was a weird timed phone call, wasn't it? It's like his phone is gay. Like I was saying, my guess is the G's are driving that car. That makes sense to me, because there's white men in the G's. And these people are trying to get around discrimination and oppression. And you know how white dudes are. We know these roads. In fact, we built these roads. The rest of you buckle up. We'll get you to where you want to go. So the G's are just driving the car. Of course, next to the G's in the passenger seat is the L's. Everybody likes the L's, except for the G's. I don't know what that's about. I just know the G's don't like them that much. And the G's always say like little subliminal digs on them. It's unnecessary shit. It's not mean, but you know what I mean? They just be like, I wouldn't wear that. The only thing that breaks the tension between the L's and the G's are the B's in the back seat. That's right, there you go. Everybody scream out when you hear your letter. If it's one thing that the L's and the G's agree on, is that the B's are fucking gross. They seem greedy to the L's and the G's, you know what I mean? They're just sitting in the back seat like, yeah, man, I'll fuck anybody in this car. What's going on, man? And sitting next to the B's, all the way in the back seat by themselves, looking out the window. That's the T's. Everybody in the car respects the T's, but everyone also resents the T's. It's not the T's' fault, but everyone in the car just feels like the T's are making the trip take longer. Anything the T's say gets on everybody's nerves. And then the T's don't even say anything bad. They just be in the back talking to themselves. I'm hot. Shut up. Shut the fuck up, okay? Just roll the window down, you bitch. I don't know what you... What? Just said I was hot. Can you pull over at the next exit? I need to use the restroom. There is not a restroom for you for 4 states, nigga. Will you just shut the fuck up so we can get where we're going? And just when that car can't get any more tense, the Q's are a hitchhiker that they pick up on the road. Some white dude in booty shorts is walking down the freeway. The G's see him. That guy might be one of us. Hey, are you okay? You need some help? And he come over there with them booty shorts leaning on the window. Hey, what's going on, fellas? Lady. Whatever pronoun makes you feel comfortable in the back. Yeah. I don't really know where I'm going. I don't know if I'm gay or I'm straight or whatever. All I know for sure is that I really want to get in this car. And they make him get in and sit in between the B's and the T's. I feel bad for T's, but they're so confusing. And it's not all my fault. I feel like they need to take some responsibility for my joke. Really fucking tough to watch what's going on. You know, ladies, I said it in my last special, and I got in a lot of trouble for this. I told you were right. But the way you're going about it is not going to work. But I'm biased. I said it. Louis C.K. was a very good friend of mine before he died in that terrible masturbation accident. And it was his room. You read the story. He was masturbating in his own room. That's where you're supposed to masturbate. And then he said, hey, everybody, I'm gonna pull my dick out. Nobody ran for the door or nothing like that. They all just kind of hung out like, I wonder if this guy's serious. And he came on his own stomach. There it is. What is the threat? Have any women ever seen a guy that just came on his own stomach? This is the least threatening motherfucker the earth has ever seen. All you see is shame in their face and cum dripping down like pancake butter. He didn't do anything that you can call the police for. I dare to try. Call the police on him. Hello, police? Yes, I am on the other line with comedian Louis C.K., and I think that he is masturbating while I'm on the phone. You know what the police are gonna say in Atlanta? Well, what are you guys talking about? They ruined this nigga's life, and now he's coming back playing comedy clubs, and they acting like if he's able to do that, that's gonna hurt women. What the fuck is your agenda, ladies? Is sexism dead? No, in fact, the opposite happened. I said it was gonna get worse, and they said I was tone deaf. But 8 states, including your state, have passed the most stringent anti-abortion laws this nation has seen since Roe v. Wade. I told you. I'll be real with you, and I know nobody gives a fuck what I think anyway. I'm not for abortion. Oh, shut up, nigga. I'm not for it, but I'm not against it either. It all depends on who I get pregnant. I don't care, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what your religious beliefs are or anything. If you have a dick, you need to shut the fuck up on this one. Seriously. This is theirs. The right to choose is their unequivocal right. Not only do I believe they have the right to choose, I believe that they shouldn't have to consult anybody, except for a physician, about how they exercise that right. Gentlemen, that is fair. And ladies, to be fair to us, I also believe if you decide to have the baby, a man should not have to pay. That's fair. If you can kill this motherfucker, I can at least abandon him. It's my money, my choice. And if I'm wrong, then perhaps we're wrong. Just figure that shit out for yourselves. That changed the way I do comedy. That turned a light switch on. It was 2 teachers. Donald-Lise, may he rest in peace. Maybe one of the single best educators that I've ever met in my life. He had a demeanor about himself that demanded excellence from his students. He would tell us incredible stories that I didn't believe. He claimed in one class, the song Killing Them Softly was about him. I was like, nah, nigga, not you. He told me he knew Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack and all these people, these DC legends. He's a humble man, but he really demanded excellence. And he gave us a lecture once on a concept called polarization. Polarization meaning the idea that if you can make everybody look at the same thing at the same time, that their rational mind will decrease and their emotional response will increase. He said that's how audiences work, that's how mobs work. That's how you make a person lose themselves in the crowd. I got it. As he was saying this, he would hold a staple in his hand. It was a good lecture. He said, everyone focus on the staple, and then he would explain to us what polarization is as we're all looking at the staple, and then he'd scream, ha! And everyone would jump, oh! And he said, what you scared of? Oh, shit, that works. And ever since he did that lecture, I listened in his class intently. He was one of the only guys that I would always get straight A's from because I worked very hard, not to get his approval, but to avoid his disapproval. When we were coming up, they had a thing called juries. I don't know, do they still do juries? Juries is when all the department heads give you a piece to work on and they sit there and they make you perform the piece, and the criticism is brutal. We were kids. We didn't understand that they were preparing us for a hard world ahead. If you wanted a profession in art, they would tear us to shreds. The stress of a jury, and man, I never practiced. Because I didn't want to act. At an improv class, a teacher named Geraldine Gilstrap told me that I should stop doing funny pieces, that I should try to stretch myself artistically, that maybe I had more in me than comedy. And at the time, I took offense to that. So because she said that, after school that very night, I went to the comedy club. For the first time, I signed the list, and I waited, and I got on, and I killed it. Killed it. Must have been 35 years ago, night after night. I killed it. I'd show up with a bag of tricks that I learned at school, and I would dominate adults on a regular basis. Couldn't wait to get out of DC. When I was 17, I moved to New York and lit that comedy scene up. I was obviously talented. You'll hear stories about people saying that I discovered Dave Chappelle. It's like saying you discovered sunshine. I was shining on everybody. And when I got in that professional world, I was oddly prepared. I had a sense of professionalism. I showed up on time. I did the things that I learned in school to do, just the basics. But my career didn't have any direction because I was still so young. And that didn't change for many years. It didn't change until my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, told me she was pregnant. And I was like, you know what? I should really start taking this seriously. When she told me that, before the baby was born, I had done my first HBO special, and then I went to work on a sketch comedy show idea I had, and Chappelle show came out when my son was still maybe 18 months years old. And I bet on myself. I took less money. I remember that, so I could do what I wanted to do. I said, you don't have to pay me that much, but you can't ever tell me that I can't do what I want to do. I did the first season, I'll tell you, for $300,000. Which sounds like a lot of money, but. It was a rare experience in my life because it was the first time that I did something that was so successful that I knew I had exceeded their expectations. I was more successful than I felt like I was supposed to be. They didn't plan on that. The second season came out and it was a juggernaut, and then I remember this was the single best day of my career. The Rick James episode of Chappelle Show had come out. People were going crazy about the Rick James episode. At the same time, the DVD for season 1 of Chappelle Show dropped. It was the first time any television show had ever been sold off air, and it sold 1 million copies in the first day. It was unheard of. To this day, nothing has sold more than Chappelle's show. It's still on the top 10 in Netflix. All those great things happened, and my contract was up. Clearly, I was about to be rich. I'll spare you all the details of why it didn't work out. But it didn't work out. And I ended up doing something that no one had ever seen before, including myself. Maybe Prince is the only other guy that I've seen do this, where he just quit something that was popular when you're at the very top of it. Lucky for me, when I quit, I went to Africa, so there was a media storm that I didn't hear. By the time I got back, everyone was just looking at me crazy. That was a very difficult decision to make. The entire world told me I was crazy, but I was sure I was being true to myself and to something that I learned at Ellington. I'm one of those comedians that thought of himself as an artist. I was enamored by what the genre could do. It was like the pictures that I could paint with words and the way I could engage with audiences. I understood as it was happening. I was very lucky to be able to do this. And I protected that. And I knew that if I took the money, they would expect me to behave differently. And I wasn't willing to accept that. So I quit. And when I quit, it was a very difficult time in my life that I'll spare you the details, but man, fuck show business. It was tough. And then one day I was in Panama City, Panama, and I was at a hotel, and I looked at the lobby. There was a painting of Abraham Lincoln. And then I would look closer. It wasn't a painting. It was all pennies, just pennies, on a black canvas arranged into the face of Abraham Lincoln. And I asked the guy, I said, how much is that painting worth? He said, $600,000, sir. And I looked at the pennies that made up the painting, and I was like, that's like $300 worth of pennies. A light bulb went in my head. I realized the value of art. Some of the biggest wars and crimes and scandals in history were financed through the theft of art. Art is a powerful commodity. And artists, if you're good at it, should never behave as a commodity. That's a tough one. And then I gave up. I said, this is probably it. I accepted the fact that the career I thought I was going to have was over, but I started to rediscover just my art for its own sake. I would go to comedy clubs, and I worked for way less money than I ever had, and I enjoyed it more than any of the work I ever did. It was probably the best work I'll ever do, because it was so honest. It was so sincere. There was no media, there was no studio, there was no scrutiny, just me and the crowds. And I did it night after night, and slowly but surely the crowds got bigger and bigger. And then suddenly people started to notice, and Polestar would say, Dave Chappelle has the tour of the year. And again, and then the year after that, and then the year after that. And then Lorne Michaels asked me to do Saturday Night Live. And it wasn't just like he asked me. He was courting me. I didn't even know it. He gave me this whole long speech. I was like, all right. And then I read some book about Lorne Michaels starting Saturday Night Live, and I read the speech that he gave Richard Pryor when he wanted him to host the show, and I said, holy shit, that's the same shit he said to me. And I did it. And that was an enormous amount of pressure. It had been 12 years since I had been on television, or since I had even talked to the media. And I remember I signed my Netflix contract on my way to my mark for the monologue. If you do live television, they count down every second. 30 seconds. Are you sure this contract is good? It's good, just sign the paper, it's good. 22 seconds. Oh, nigga, you better not be tricking me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I walked out on that stage and I killed it. It was natural. It was nothing. It was easy work. Got an Emmy for that one too. First Emmy I won. And when I walked on the stage, after being in the cold for so long, for the first time when I walked on the stage, I'm like, damn, nigga, I just made $60 million. That's what I thought to myself. It's been great ever since. Really, I could do these specials like Steph Curry. I'll be shooting from inside, outside, all night. It's been great ever since. A lot of my friends are athletes, and I never could understand what it would feel like to only have a limited amount of time to be great. You got 20 years to be the best, or 30 years to be the best. But when you do art, you could be great whenever the will decides that you're great. I feel very lucky for that. And I never forgot this school. I've always come back and checked in. One of my favorite honors was doing the commencement at Ellington. I can't even remember what year it is. I just remember they cheered for me when I came out. I wasn't a big star, but I was their star. And I felt like I was home. After I did Lorne Michaels, after I did Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michaels said something that I got to share with you. He goes, "You went to Peggy Capeford School, didn't you?" That's what he said. And I said, "I did." And he said, I want to say that Saturday Night Live, he goes, "Tell her I owe her money." You know, I never asked to have this theater named after me. Peggy asked me. She was ailing, and I went to her house to visit her. She said, "I want you to put your name on the school." She said, "It will help us raise money for the school." And to me, it was like, I felt like I'm a little young for that, and I'm still kind of using the name, you know what I mean? Let's see what I do with it first. You never know, you know. Like, imagine if OJ named his son OJ Jr. Oh, Dad. And around then, I was receiving the Mark Twain Prize, huge honor. And the next day, all the artists that came to honor me, the Bradley Coopers and Chris Tuckers and all these great people, came to Ellington, and they taught master classes for the students. And Peggy Cooper Capeford, as sick as she was, got out of her bed so she could be with her babies. She never left us. So I did it. Say, you know, whatever you want to do, however I can help, I'll do it. I got to tell you, if you quit a show like Chappelle's show, I don't know if you know what happens to you professionally, but I'll tell you what doesn't happen. They don't just say, "Well, good luck in your future endeavors." With that media, they beat me up. With their power, they tried to make me behave. It takes a strong person to...
We'll be back in D.C. You know, I was thinking, man, this is an election year. I'm gonna ask you, white guy, do you know who you're voting for yet? Don't know, do you? Now, you see that? You see what just happened here? Let me tell you something. That is a cultural thing. He knows who he's going to vote for. He's just not going to tell me. See? I've noticed that. That is a cultural thing. White people do not like to talk about their political affiliations. It's a secret. You ever ask a white guy who's voting for you? "Hey, Bob, who are you going to vote for?" Dave, whoa. Take it easy now. Take it easy. So anyway, I was fucking my wife in her ass, right? And I mean, it was something else. Yeah, but who are you voting for? Dave, come on with the voting. I'm trying to tell you about fucking my wife, and you're asking me all these personal questions. They don't like to divulge that information. because it matters to them. Black people talk about that shit. Black people will openly talk about politics. Black people will openly talk about beating up politicians and shit. If I see George Bush, I'll kick his motherfucking ass for cutting my Medicaid. They already say it. Black people just say it. But there's a reason for that. It matters more for that. It matters more. Black people see, even when I vote, right? Which I don't. But even when I like think about like who I would vote for, right? I don't even look at their political policies. I just look at their character. You know what I'm saying now? You gotta read, no, I'm serious. You gotta read between the lines. Like, you know, you look at Clinton, and black people like Clinton, because we've seen him on the campaign. I saw one thing on the campaign trail. He actually just picked a black baby up and kissed him. Come here, you little nigger baby. Mwah, just kiss him. I said, I like that. He did not hesitate or nothing. You see George Bush Jr., he be then, ugh. Like, see, I'd never vote for George Bush Jr., but I don't know George Bush Jr.'s politics. The only thing I know about George Bush Jr. is that guy sniffed cocaine. That's right. Now, listen, we cannot have that shit in the White House. That might be fine for a mayor, but goddamn it, not in the White House. Not in the White House. You know what I'm saying? The stakes are too high in the White House. Can't have no cokehead president. He be selling nuclear secrets for $20, $30 and shit. He'll be in meetings embarrassing America. Come on, sign the treaty, baby. I suck your dick. Like, what the? Mr. President, that is not how we do business here, sir. Stop sucking the ambassador's dick. No, let him finish. I will sign the treaty. There will be peace in Israel, finally. I'd vote for Clinton again if I could. At least it's always better. Now, again, I'm not looking at his politics. Don't know what his politics are. I'm just looking at his behavior. I understand that kind of behavior. I know a lot of dudes with them shortcomings. Weed-smoking fornicators. There's a lot of them. I mean, come on now. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Bill Clinton was not the first president to do what he did. Now, let's think back for a minute. Remember a guy named Kennedy, John F. Kennedy? Remember him? He fucked Marilyn Monroe. Matter of fact, him and his brother Bobby fucked Marilyn Monroe. And history doesn't talk about that much. You know why history doesn't talk about that much? Because those 2 pages in history are stuck together. They was getting it on. They were getting it on. I seen the tapes. Remember the tapes she'd be singing on there? See this party, stressing them out. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Bitch, my family's here. Clinton did the same thing, but he didn't do it like that. Because it's the year 2000, he's busier than Kennedy was. He was a busy man. Clinton did that kind of thing the way busy men do it. You know what busy men do? They fuck who's close to them. I can tell that's what Clinton was up to. Look like he just stuck his head out the office door and shit. Oh, boy. You, come here. I made my penis up for my 3:30, come on. Oh, boy. He's probably looking at Kennedy's picture and shit. Oh, bro. And then to top it off, he lied, which I thought that was special. I did, man. I know how he did. I've been accused of having sex with a girl I did not have sex with before, and let me tell you something, that shit is infuriating. You ever go through that? You know, it'll make you crazy. You be screaming at your best friends, I didn't touch that bitch, nigga, I'll kill you. Fuck you, nigga, I'll kill you. Please believe me. Please believe me. And Clinton didn't do it like that, did he? And Clinton came out of the press conference all relaxed, his shoulders all relaxed and all this trouble. It looked like he just got done fucking or something. Listen, let me tell you something, America. I don't think you heard me the first time. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. You know he did it. You know he did it. Everybody knew what that finger smelled like. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. We all watched. We was disgusted, but we kept watching the news. I know I did. I was taping it. See, I'd be at the crib like, baby, turn the lights off. The news is coming on. Every week on 60 Minutes was a different girl accusing Clinton. Remember Kathleen Willey came out? She was upset. The president called me into his office. He began massaging my breast slowly. I'm sorry. And then he placed my hand on his genitals. Ed Bradley was shocked. Was he aroused? I was at home like, yeah, was he aroused? And then Ed Bradley looked right in the camera. He said, don't bust that nut yet. We'll be right back. Oh, man, the news had never been so good. But there were no victims. There were no victims. Only one I feel sorry for is that Lewinsky. I feel a little sorry for her. Don't y'all feel a little sorry for her, though? God damn, y'all, come on, man. Have a heart. That's a hard thing to be famous for, man. I mean, nobody want to be the most famous cocksucker of all times and shit. I feel bad for her. Not even the women feel sorry for her a little bit, ladies. Now that's jealousy. That's what that is. I mean, come on, y'all. That's one dick that girl sucked. It's going to haunt her for the rest of her life. Long after she spent that money up, that's still going to haunt her. And I know there's a lot of women in here with at least one dick they regret. And I bet you it wasn't a president's dick. I bet you worked at Kenny Shoes or Safeway or some shit like that. Don't go judging her. Don't go judging her. See, we got to stop judging people. That girl was young, and she made a mistake that young girls make. She wanted to fuck a powerful man, period. That's as far as she thought it through. She wasn't thinking about how powerful the president was. She didn't have no wisdom. An older woman would have helped everybody. An older woman would have been in there, you know, you should lower taxes. You know what I'm saying? The older one would have sucked us into utopia. The last thing I'm going to say about it is this, that he is a famous man. I have dreamt of being famous, but I never dreamt of being that famous. I never understood how famous a president was. But imagine if somebody could suck your dick and then they're famous. You understand what I'm saying? That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, no guy ever thought of that. There's nobody with a pickup line that good and shit. They suck my dick, there's a future in it. What? Oh, that's it now. Get out there and be somebody. Go write a book. You're a qualified author now. Go write a book. Said, I'm in the wrong business. I should be the president. Shit, I'm in the wrong business. See, the only reason I want to be president is because I'm black. That would make it too hot for me. I mean, you know what I mean? I think it could be a black president one day, but you don't want to be the first one. I mean, second or third, that's fine, but that first nigga better watch out. I'm going to tell you that right now. Too hot. I mean, I'd be the first black president. I don't think that nobody would really, really hurt me. I'm sure somebody would want to hurt me, but I don't think they'd touch me because my vice president will be Mexican for a little insurance. You know what I'm saying? You can shoot me if you want, but you're just going to open the border up, so you might as well leave me and Vice President Santiago to our own devices. Ain't that right, Santiago? See. Elian can stay. Don't worry, I don't got no Elian jokes. All I'll say about Elian is thank God he's Cuban. Because if he was Haitian, you'd have never heard about his ass. If Elian Gonzalez was Elian Lumumbo from Haiti, they'd have pushed that little rubber tube right back in the water. Sorry, fella, all full.
In 1987, I moved back from Ohio to D.C. and enrolled in Eastern High School and did. You must not have went there when I went there, champ. Those were tough times, is the way I remember it. When I had gone, I'd lived with my father for 3 years. I went to middle school in Ohio, and when I'd gotten back to Washington, the crack epidemic was in full swing, and the city was largely unrecognizable to me. I was an older kid, and kids my age were doing a lot of wild things that I didn't know that kids would do. I'd never seen a kid with a pager before. I didn't know anything about selling drugs or any of that shit. All I knew was every day when I went to Eastern, I didn't feel safe. I'm a quiet guy. Naturally. I'm a shy person, naturally. And I used to get my hair cut on a barbershop in 15th Street Northeast, and I would go there, and everyone in the barbershop would just snap on each other. And I'd sit in the corner, and I'd watch everybody and just listen to all these jokes. The guys were funny as shit, but one day, after a few weeks of going there getting my hair cut, they turned the jokes on me. I call that day the barbershop massacre. I lit everybody in that barbershop up. I've been sitting in there listening to for weeks talk about each other. I knew every inside joke about each and every one of them, and they couldn't believe I knew. And from then on in the neighborhood, people kind of like me. Oh, those guys. I came to Duke Ellington, and it was better than I could have ever imagined. I didn't have the suspicion that most new kids get. I was an oddity, a new toy. I was quirky. I wasn't a snappy dresser. I didn't really know what the fuck was going on because the crack epidemic itself was new to me, and they were all refugees from their neighborhood schools. In the morning, we would have our academic classes, and then in the afternoon, we would have our arts classes. It was a long school day. We started at 8:30. We wouldn't leave here till 5, sometimes 5:30, whenever they saw fit. It's funny walking in here tonight because I saw the pride flags up. And I remember when I came here all those years ago, it's the first time I'd ever met a kid who was just like gay. And was never strange to us. Their sexuality or their gender identity was the least remarkable thing about a person that could dance as well as Roger Bellamy or there was no distinction between any of that. Everybody was weird in their own way. And in a very strange way, because we spent so much time with one another, we helped raise one another. There's a camaraderie between these students that I don't know that I've seen since I left this school. I can remember, and I won't say names, there was a student that went here that used to sell drugs. It wasn't just a student, but this particular guy. This particular guy did the cardinal no-no on the streets. He did what they call not making your roll, which meant that he got some drugs on consignment and he didn't pay whoever gave him the drugs back. And whoever gave him those drugs had declared, I'm gonna come to that school and I'm gonna kill you, he said. And my man was scared. And the word got around school that the goons was coming. And by the time the goons showed up, every dude that went to this school, gay, straight, whatever the fuck, was all standing out front. They said, you'll have to kill all of us. And who was in front of all of them? Roger Bellamy with some leg warmers on like this. I started making friends that are still my friends to this very day, lifelong friends. As I get older, I appreciate my teachers more and more. But to tell you the truth, I appreciated them then. Teacher salary is, not necessarily what it should be. And when I think about that, juxtaposed to the dedication that the teachers, the time they would spend to me, the way they would notice, are you okay? Is everything all right? You look sad today. Any little thing, like a family member would. And they fostered an environment of almost absolute trust, like your parents. There's 2 lectures that I got at school that changed the way I do comedy, that turned a light switch on. It was 2 teachers. Donald Lease. Donald Lease, may he rest in peace. Maybe one of the single best educators that I've ever met in my life. He had a demeanor about himself that demanded excellence from his students. He would tell us incredible stories that I didn't believe. He claimed in one class, the song Killing Them Softly was about him. I was like, nah, nigga, not you. He told me he knew Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack and all these people, these DC legends. He's a humble man, but he really demanded excellence. And he gave us a lecture once on a concept called polarization. Polarization meaning the idea that if you can make everybody look at the same thing at the same time, that their rational mind will decrease and their emotional response will increase. He said that's how audiences work, that's how mobs work, that's how you make a person lose themselves in the crowd. I got it. As he was saying this, he would hold a stapler in his hand. It was a good lecture. He'd say, everyone focus on the stapler, and then he would explain to us what polarization is as we're all looking at the stapler, and then he'd scream, ha! And everyone would jump, oh! And he'd say, what you scared of? Oh, shit, that works. And ever since he did that lecture, I listened in his class intently. He was one of the only guys that I would always get straight A's from because I worked very hard, not to get his approval, but to avoid his disapproval. When we were coming up, they had a thing called juries. I don't know, do they still do juries? Juries is when all the department heads give you a piece to work on and they sit there and they make you perform the piece, and the criticism is brutal. We were kids. We didn't understand that they were preparing us for a hard world ahead. If you wanted a profession in art, they would tear us to shreds. The stress of a jury, and man, I never practiced. Because I didn't want to act. Yeah, no, it was now in the gay community's defense, Manny Pacquiao said some outlandish shit about gay people. Very, very not nice things that I won't repeat, but there was biblical verses and some analogies to animals. Wasn't a good look. Nike took his shoes immediately, which I thought was a little harsh. A little harsh. You know what I mean? Because he's just because he's Asian. You know what I mean? Fuck, you gonna take shoes off Asian dude to appease a gay dude? You know what I mean? No, you don't know what I mean. But Asian people kind of know what I mean. No? No Asians in the front? No? No, this is what I mean. Okay, look. Okay, you're an Asian dude. No, I say this with no disrespect, but we're all Americans, right? And we can agree that America has a huge body count all over the world, but nowhere more than Asia. Literally, if you look at history, recently, we have bombed the masculinity out of an entire continent. We dropped 2 atomic bombs on fucking Japan, and they've been drawing Hello Kitty and shit ever since. There's a lot of lady boys in the wake of our bombs. And I know these things because my wife is Asian. She's Filipino. All right, well, okay, so that explains it. Now you know why you see me at all those Filipino events. I'm not there picking up pussy, I'm dropping some off. I take my wife to all that shit. I took my wife to see Pacquiao fight Mayweather. We sat ringside, okay? That was a quiet car ride home. That's what that was. But if you know what's popping in the Philippines, you know that they got a whole generation of kids in the Philippines growing up without their mothers. Yes, a lot of women in the Philippines go to the Arabian Peninsula, they come to the United States, they make all their money here, they send all that money back home, which is still one of the #1 staples in the Philippines economy, money that their expats send back to the Philippines. The men, on the other hand, are left rearing children, twiddling their thumbs, waiting on their wives' checks. These men have been fucking emasculated. And then suddenly, a boxer rises from amongst them and reinstates their manhood with his motherfucking fist. This is not the guy you're supposed to ask, what do you think of homosexuals? He's not your champ. Shit. That's why I don't have a sneaker deal, because if you say something that people don't like, they'll take your fucking shoes off. If Martin Luther King had a sneaker deal, we'd still be on the back of the bus. They always true, the Nike exec come up, hi, Martin, we need you to tone down the talk of civil rights and blacks being humans. It's upsetting our southern distributors. But I don't understand. I thought that's why I had a sneaker deal in the first place. Not quite. Really, it's a walking shoe, and we like the marching, but try to understand. Fuck that shit. You know, I get it, though. I understand why gay people are mad, and I empathize. You know what? I'm just telling you, this is a black dude. I support your movement. But if you want to take some advice from a Negro, pace yourself. These things take a while. Just because they pass the law doesn't mean they're going to like you.
It was Brown versus the Board of Education. It was in 1955. Somebody called me a nigga in traffic last Wednesday. It's a long, it takes a minute. You know, I'm happy really to see black people come. You know, a lot of black people don't fuck with me like they used to. But there's a lot of reasons, there's a few reasons you don't see black people at my shows. One is because obviously black people have slower internet connections. I mean, that would be my guess. I don't know what. Actually, my own actions drew a wedge between me and the community I hold so dear. A couple of weeks ago, I was supposed to be in Flint, Michigan for a charity benefit that was supposed to raise awareness for the appalling condition of the water in Flint. I don't know if you know this, but the water in Flint is fucking poisonous. It's actually making people sick. I mean, Hollywood people like, so what? At least they have water. But this water's fucked up. So a lot of black celebrities flew into Flint and they did a tremendous charity benefit, and I was on the schedule to appear. So the reason a lot of people haven't heard about this benefit, it was the same day as the Oscars. Right, I know. So I was on my way to the airport to go to Flint, and then Chris Rock calls me and is like, hey, Dave, I got a ticket for you for the Oscars. Can you make it? And I was like, sure, nigga, I'm on my way to the airport right now. Oh, come on, man. What am I going to do about that water? What am I, a fucking superhero? I need to have fun. I need to live, too. I didn't fuck that water up. Stevie Wonder was there. They didn't need me. I'm sorry, everybody. I'd never been to the Oscars. You've seen the movies I make. I was excited as fuck. I knew I was going to get in some trouble because when I was walking in the red carpet, the black press came after me. Excuse me, brother. When you hear somebody call you brother too much, something terrible's about to happen. Excuse me, brother. And then I looked back and the motherfucker had a tuxedo with the kente cloth tie. I said, uh-oh. He said, I just want to ask you a couple questions. I said, what publication are you with? He said, me, I'm with the Daily Bongo. I said, Daily Bongo? What the fuck? Who the fuck reads this? He said, listen, brother, I just want to ask you a quick question. You understand that this year, this is a boycott for the Oscars, so I'm just wondering what made you, of all people, cross the motherfucking picket line and be here tonight. I said, boycott? Nigga, I haven't been working in 10 years. What do you mean, boycott? I've been on strike. Y'all niggas didn't stop working. I had to watch fucking Key and Peele do my show every night. Fuck the Daily Bongo is what I said. I went to Oscars and had a wonderful time. I went in that fucking green room. It was filled with so many stars, I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. Hollywood was seducing me all over again. I was sitting back there, I'm smoking, drinking with the stars. And then 2 Hollywood movie producers came over right to me. Oh my God, Dave Chappelle, said the leader one. He was obviously gay. Some guys you can just tell. The other one seemed like a money guy, like maybe he was from Texas or some shit. But the gay one was definitely the leader because he did all the talking. And then he hit me with, so David, do you have any movie ideas that you would like to pursue? The truth is, I don't. But if you know the game, you're not supposed to tell motherfuckers you don't have ideas. I was like, yeah, man, I got plenty of ideas. And he called my bluff. Really? Like what? Huh? And then I just started making up shit that I thought maybe he'd like to see. I said, I have a superhero idea. Because really? I go, yeah, he's a gay superhero. He was like, really? What's it called? Huh? Oh, it's called It's called Same Hero, New Boots. It's about a gay sous chef in San Francisco. He gets bit by a radioactive rat on his shift when he's taking out the trash, and is blessed with powers beyond his wildest dreams. Supersonic, gay kind of powers. And he starts saving everybody in San Francisco. But at first, he only saves gay people. Later, he saves everybody, and the whole city just falls in love with him. The only problem is, no one remembers him when he saves them. Well, I don't understand. Why wouldn't they remember him? I said, because, dummy, he's gay. He keeps changing his outfit. People come up, thanks for saving, mister. What's your name anyway? And he's like, same hero, new boots, and that motherfucker flies away. He was like, I like it a lot. The Texan didn't like that shit at all. He was upset. That's impossible, gay superhero. I said, what? Well, I have others. I have a superhero you love because he's stronger than Superman and he fights for truth, justice, and the American way like Superman, but more than Superman. He beats up Mexicans for no reason. The Texan's like, you got my attention. I was like, man, this motherfucker is so strong, he can fly and do all this great shit. Only problem with this guy is he can't even activate his powers unless he touches a woman's vagina. Not a long touch, just a couple of pats. He said, well, what's the problem with that? I said, well, the problem, sir, is that our hero is not, he's not a handsome man. And he's often short on cash. So whenever trouble breaks out, he has to run around the city and convince women to let him pat their vaginas. Please, miss, that building's on fire. Can I pat your vagina quickly? People are dying, but he can't tell them exactly why. Ugh, get away, you're gross. Please, miss, people are dying. Just a couple of pats. Ugh, gross, get away. So he rapes them. I know. That's the dilemma for the audience. Because he rapes, but he saves a lot of lives. And he saves way more than he rapes, and he only rapes to save. But he does rape. I didn't realize it, but the whole green room was looking at us. All the celebrities were disgusted. Oh. That guy from Texas was like, here's my card. Call me on Monday. That worked out. The second time I met O.J. Simpson.
Here, it has happened many, many times since, where someone would intimidate me or scare me and take something that I believe was mine. I'll tell you another story. Now I'm 18 years old. I'm living in New York City, and I just finished my first road tour, which was a very difficult tour. I'll spare you the details. Now I'm back in New York, but my rent is paid, thank God. And I have $60 to my name, and a woman that I had met in Pittsburgh, a bad Dominican bitch, was coming to New York. She was going to spend the weekend with me. I couldn't wait for her to get there. She was coming that evening. But remember, I only had $60 for a whole weekend to entertain a bad bitch. Now I'm walking through Greenwich Village, and I see something I've never seen before. 3-card Monte. You know what that is? Yeah, the guy had the whole thing. The table was set up, and he had the 3 cards, and the crowd was hooting and hollering, and he was like, find the red card, and people were playing. Sometimes they win, Sometimes they lose, but it was really exciting, and I'm standing there watching it, and I noticed while I'm watching them play this game that the red card, the one you're trying to find, had just a little bend on the corner. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, yo, this guy doesn't seem to know that red card is bent. I'm going to beat this motherfucker. And I walked up to the table, and I said, let me play a hand. And I put my last $60 on that table, and he starts to shuffle and find the red card, find the red card. And I kept watching that bent card go around the table, make sure I kept my eyes on that bent card. And when he stopped shuffling, and he said, find the red card, I pointed to it with confidence. Here it is right here. And he flipped it over, and it was black. And he took my money. I couldn't fucking believe that. How did this nigga do that? Was that magic or sorcery? I was confused. So you know what I did? I sat there and I watched him for a real long time play the game. And I realized that all those people who was doing all that hooting and hollering and betting, my God, they were his friends. They were in on the whole thing. I felt so wronged. I felt so stupid. And then the next sucker came up to the table and was about to put his money down. And I said, fuck that, man. Don't put your money there. All these niggas is in on it. It's a trick. And when I said that, the guy that was dealing, and this motherfucker was huge, snatched me up by my collar. Feel how strong he was when he grabbed me. I was a skinny little guy. And he was going to maul me. The only reason he didn't, I'm sure, is because he saw the fear in my face. And that fear, he looked at me. I saw his eyes go from hard to soft. He softened. Then he looked at me like the way a father would look at a child. And he said to me, young man. Yeah. I just remember all the comedians really liked that joke. And there was an older comedian. And he came to me one night after the show, after he saw the joke, and he said, listen, I got an audition at another comedy club, and I was wondering, do you mind if I do that joke? I just want to borrow it. Now, I'm a kid. I don't know any better. I'm like, borrow it? Well, I guess, sure, if it'll help your career. I let him do the joke. And then weeks later, I was waiting to go on in a comedy club, and he went on before me. And he did the joke. And after the show, I pulled him aside and I said, hey, man, I don't mind you borrowing my jokes, but you got to give them back. He said, oh, I forgot to ask you. He goes, let me buy that joke from you for $50. And I said, man, I'd do it, but I'm just starting out. I need all the material I can get. The idea being that the more material I can accumulate, the faster I'll be able to make money for my work. I said, I can't do it. I want my joke back. I'll never forget this. Remember, I was a 15-year-old child. This guy was a grown-ass man. He stood up over me so I could see how big he was. And he said to me, really? I can just take it. And he did. I got scared because I was a child. But I never forgot that. I never forgot that. I was 15 years old. I'm 47 now. I think about this guy all the time. When I look at my own kids and I see how young and innocent they are, I can't believe someone did that to me. And I don't think about it every day because that was the worst thing that happened to me. I think about it every day because that was the first time that someone ever did that to me. But in my orientation, because the master over there might be nicer. My God, man, I was trapped. You know what? Tell you the truth. Tell you the truth. I've even thought about coming back and doing another Chappelle show. Well, but if I do, I can't call it Chappelle Show because my name and likeness is being used by them in perpetuity throughout the universe. It's in the contract. You're not supposed to do this in my business. I'm up here doing something that nobody else in this business has the balls to do. I'm telling you something that you need to know. I'm trying to explain to you what you're seeing. You don't understand what you're seeing. I am publicly flogging a network. And I know that this network niggas, they watching me and they saying, why are you doing this so publicly? Doesn't feel good to be flogged publicly. Oh, believe me, I know. I know exactly how that feels. When I quit my show, they said I was crazy. What was crazy about it? I just didn't want to do it anymore. They said I smoked crack. That's impossible. I was a devout Muslim. And here we are, all these years later, and they're streaming the very show that I was pitching to them. So I'm asking them, what do you need me for? People think I made a lot of money for Chappelle's show. When I left that show, I never got paid. They didn't have to pay me because I signed the contract. But is that right? I found out that these people were streaming my work and they never had to ask me or they never had to tell me. Perfectly legal because I signed the contract. But is that right? I didn't think so either. That's why I like working for Netflix. I like working for Netflix because when all those bad things happened to me, that company didn't even exist. And when I found out they were streaming Chappelle's show, I was furious. How could they not know? So you know what I did? I called them and I told them that this makes me feel bad. And do you want to know what they did? They agreed that they would take it off their platform just so I could feel better. That's why I fuck with Netflix. Because they paid me my money, they do what they say they're gonna do, and they went above and beyond what you could expect from a businessman. They did something just because they thought that I might think that they were wrong. And I do. I think if you are fucking streaming that show, you're fencing stolen goods. They stole that from me. They just took it. And I'm not up here trying to tell you guys that I believe that Comedy Central gave me a raw deal just because I'm black. I believe that they gave me a raw deal because this fucking industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too bitches was trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it fucks. And I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster. When I quit the show, all my friends would say, well, fuck them, Dave. Why don't you just do Chappelle's show at another network? Yeah. And why doesn't a slave run from one plantation to a... Don't ever come between a man and his meal. I never forgot that either. Most niggas would have to run the streets for years to learn a lesson that profound. It took me 2 seconds. Never get between somebody and their paper. Taking a man's livelihood away from him is akin to killing him. Do you know why Prince, the famous rock star that was a friend of mine, do you know why he called himself the artist when he came back? He calls himself the artist because that's what they call us in our contracts. Oh, these contracts are crazy. You should hear the terminology they say in these contracts. To use your name and likeness in perpetuity throughout the universe. Who the fuck could possibly know what that means? Nobody does. It's so complicated, in fact, that when you're a kid like me, you have to hire somebody to tell you what that means. And you sit down at a table and you do the contract game. And that's how I got with Comedy Central. I signed the contract. But I signed the contract the way that a 28-year-old expectant father that was broke signs a contract. I was desperate. I needed a way out, and it wasn't good money, and it wasn't good circumstances, but what else am I going to do, I said. And all these white people sitting at that table told me, trust us, Dave, it's a good contract. And I looked around the table, and they all seemed to agree it was a good contract. But what if it was like that game of three-card Monte? What if they were all friends and I didn't know it? And the bag of money was Iceberg's money in the first place. What was I talking about? What was I trying to tell you? Last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I call Lauren Michaels and I tell him, okay, I'll do it. I'll do Saturday Night Live on election night. And the day I made that phone call, the day I committed to it, it gets announced that Netflix is streaming Chappelle's show. Not just Netflix. HBO Max is streaming it too. Let me tell you another story about HBO. No, hear me out. Did you know, before Chappelle's show was at Comedy Central, I pitched that show to HBO. I told them what I wanted to do. Now, these are executives. All they have to do is say, yeah, we'll take it, or no, thank you, we won't. But they didn't say either of those things. They went too far. They said, literally, what do we need you for? That's what they told me, as they kicked me out of the office.
I said, I'm like Evel Knievel. I get paid for the attempt. I didn't promise this shit would be good. Boo, they said, fuck you. This went on for a long time. And then after the show, I felt so bad, I took half of the money from the show, thousands of dollars. I said, I'm going to give this to charity. You know what I did? I bought $25,000 worth of bubble gum and drove around Detroit and handed it out to the homeless so they could chew it and still be hungry. I was very mad at Detroit that night. Because not only did I bomb, nigga, I had to go back to the very same room the next night and do it all over again. Fucking nightmare. That would be like if you were having sex with a woman and for some reason, this would never happen, but for some reason, she had a mouse trap in her pussy. You get caught in the trap. And then you gotta fuck her again tomorrow night. I'd still do it, but you know, I'd be careful the next time. The old mouse trap in the pussy trick, eh? Fool me once. Not yet. Yeah. Oh, if you see me on that shit, it's over. Trust me. My spirit is broken. If you see me waiting for them judges, getting critiqued on my cha-cha, fuck that. I've been hanging out. I haven't been working in LA, but I come out here and hang out and shit. I was out here a few weeks ago. I almost got arrested. I'm not bullshitting. This happens to a lot of black people. What happened was, I was coming out of one of those nightclubs in Hollywood, and my friend saw me. I guess I was wobbling or something. So he just rolled up. It's a good friend of mine. He's like, hey, Dave, give me the keys. And I was like, all right, nigga, just take the keys. And I got in the passenger side of my car, and he drove it. And it was fine. Just talking, chopping it up. And then on the 10, the blue and whites hit us. Now, I should tell you, the friend that was driving me was black, which really doesn't have anything to do with the story, other than to let you know there was fear in the car. Not my fear. I'm black, but I'm also Dave Chappelle. So I figured, you know, shit'll probably be fine. traffic stop started off on the right foot. Cops came up to the driver's side. Hi, how you guys doing? And he recognized me immediately. Oh, Dave Chappelle. And I looked at my friend like, we getting out of this shit. He was talking. So then I started fucking with the radio. You know, traffic stops going good if you listen to the radio when someone else is outside of the car. But then when I looked back in the rearview mirror, something had gone horribly wrong. The motherfuckers back there like. And the next thing I knew, they were stuffing them in the back of the car. And I thought, you know, when anybody would think of a situation like that, oh my God, what is gonna happen to me? And the police walked up to the window. Mr. Chappelle, we had to arrest your friend. He refused to take our breathalyzer test. I said, that motherfucker. Not complying, that's odd. So, officer, what's gonna happen to me? Well, you're fine. We're just gonna have to ask you to step out of the car so we can impound the vehicle and we'll arrange for you to have a ride home. I said, oh, well, nah, I would rather you just give me the keys. They said, Mr. Chappelle, your friend already told us he's your designated driver. We can't let you drive in this condition. I was like, no, nigga, I'm good. I'm good. And then suddenly the shit turned into Vegas. He was like, I'll let you blow for her. I said, excuse me? He said, if you blow on my breathalyzer. I said, oh, nigga, I thought you was trying to get your dick sucked. What's going on? I said, uh-oh. And he looked at it, he said, oh, well, Mr. Chappelle, I guess you're free to go. I said, I am. I didn't know that thing didn't pick up weed. I drove home on the 10, 30 miles an hour. Yeah, no, it all worked out. It all worked out. I'm one of the lucky ones. It doesn't work out that well for everybody. I saw that videotape of that lady that got beat up in L.A. in the traffic. You see that shit on rush hour traffic? They beat a black woman's ass. This woman didn't even do anything wrong. It's fucked up. It was so fucked up it didn't even go to court. The city of L.A. just gave that woman $1.5 million for her pain and suffering. That is not bad, considering that's the same amount of money that Marcos Maidana made to fight Floyd Mayweather the second time. And this woman obviously hasn't trained a day in her life. You can see it on the tape. She didn't come to fight. Her guards were low. She was taking a lot of shots. Everybody's mad at police now. I watched that. You see that shit on Netflix? The making a murderer? The Stephen Avery story? I can't even wrap my mind around it. If Making a Murderer was about a black dude, that shit would be called Duh. Of course everything can go wrong. Seems like he did it all right. The motherfucker even had $200,000 for his legal defense. That should get you off in Wisconsin. That's like OJ money. All he needed to get off that he didn't have was a single black juror. That's all it would have took. Because only a black dude in the United States can look at 11 other dudes and be like, I think the police did this shit. He's fucked up in the game. That's how OJ got off. I've been watching that new OJ show. I can't get enough of that shit. Doesn't it bring back good memories? The first time I met O.J. Simpson, I was in Santa Monica. Santa Monica? Yeah. I can't believe a black dude was like, Santa Monica. He was the last niggas I was expecting to say that. See your shoes. You got some Vans on, nigga? What you got on? Santa Monica! You? At the time, I was 18. I had done a show, and then a guy from the club came up and was like, hey, O.J. Simpson's here, and he said he wants to meet you. I said, what? Fuck yeah. I ran down the steps. And OJ was down there, he's like, hey, yo, man, how are you? It's very good to meet you. And you're doing really good work, and I hope good things happen for you in your life. I was like, man, thanks, Mr. Juice. Standing beside him, well, I don't know the nice way to say this, his soon-to-be slain wife. Ladies and gentlemen, man the fuck up or you're not gonna make it through the end of this show. This man, she said, I think you're adorable. And she hugged me, she goes, good luck to you. And she held me for a long time. And I whispered in her ear, bitch, are you trying to get us both killed? I'm just kidding, I didn't say that, but that was the first time in a nutshell. It's good to see so many different people here from so many different ethnicities. Very diverse crowd. Looks like you thought Bernie Sanders was gonna come out in this motherfucker, but surprise, it's me. Yeah, no, you know, I'm happy really to see black people come. You know, a lot of black people don't fuck with me like they used to. But there's a lot of reasons, there's a few reasons you don't see black people at my shows. One is because obviously black people have slower internet connections. I mean, that would be my guess. I don't know what. Actually, my own actions drew a wedge between me and the community I hold so dear. A couple of weeks ago, I was supposed to be in Flint, Michigan for a charity benefit that was supposed to raise awareness for the appalling condition of the water in Flint. I don't know if you know this, but the water in Flint is fucking poisonous. It's actually making people sick. I mean, Hollywood people like, so what? At least they have water. But this water, this water's fucked up. So a lot of black celebrities flew. The reason a lot of people haven't heard about this benefit, it was the same day as the Oscars. Right, I know. So I was on my way to the airport to go to Flint, and then Chris Rock calls me and is like, hey, Dave, I got a ticket for you for the Oscars. Can you make it? And I was like, sure, nigga, I'm on my way to the airport right now. Oh, come on, man. What am I gonna do about that water? What am I, a fucking superhero? I need to have fun. I need to live too. I didn't fuck that water up. Stevie Wonder was there. They didn't need me. I'm sorry, everybody. I've never been to the Oscars. You've seen the movies I make. I was excited as fuck. I knew I was gonna get in some trouble because when I was walking in the red carpet, the black press came after me. Excuse me, brother. When you hear somebody call you brother too much, something terrible's about to happen. Excuse me, brother. And then I looked back and the motherfucker had a tuxedo with the kente cloth tie. I said, uh-oh. He said, He said, listen, brother, I just want to ask you a quick question. You understand that this year, this is a boycott for the Oscars, so I'm just wondering what made you, of all people, cross the motherfucking